They disclosed the investments of $6 billion in 5 corporations. And before buying anything else, he will wait for a better time. As a result, we can see a new S&P 500 high of 3,500 points. Welcome to the Coin Post. Breaking news from Warren Buffett. On his 90th birthday, he purchased stakes in 5 Japanese corporations. Apparently, the old fella is bored with the American market, and he thinks it's time to broaden his horizons. I suggest we work together today to figure out what Warren Buffett is selling and buying, why he's doing it, and how you and I, ordinary people, can use it to our advantage. The second part of the video is about changing the US Federal Reserve's policy regarding a 2% inflation baseline. There have been various insinuations about the dollar collapse on YouTube and other social networks on this subject, caused by both misunderstanding and wishful thinking. I've decided to go over this topic in detail and make a video about it. Subscribe to the channel right now and join our community. Let's start. So, Warren Buffett is 90 years old. Getting to that age is an admirable accomplishment. And if you're also one of the wealthiest people in the world, a legendary investor, and you keep running an international investment company, that's just off the charts. And I'm sure that Buffett's gonna go down in history forever. So, about his latest deals. Besides preparing for their manager's jubilee for the last 12 months, Berkshire Hathaway has been actively buying stakes in Japanese companies. They disclosed the investments of $6 billion in 5 corporations: Mitsubishi Corporation, Mitsui & Company, Sumitomo Corporation, Itochu Corporation, and Marubeni Corporation. All listed companies are multifunctional with interests in the energy sector, the extractive industry, manufacturing, and more. But what they have in common is their real area of interest in the commodity sector. They bought about 5% of the shares of each of the companies. Eventually, this position could be raised to almost 10%, and if Berkshire's board of directors approves, it may exceed this threshold. Obviously, Buffett entered the Japanese market for the long haul. Interestingly, Buffett had previously focused exclusively on the American market and would rarely buy anything else. Here, we're dealing with significant investments into another country, and the intention to increase them in the future. The first and most straightforward conclusion is that Buffett is waiting for the American market collapse and therefore decided to somehow flee to another country. But if we look at the stock index of 225 leading Japanese companies, we see declines in 2000, 2007, and 2020, completely correlated with the S&P 500 index. That is to say, fleeing to another country from a collapse makes no sense. And the reason for Buffett's behavior is that he simply doesn't see any good deals in the US market. Since 2017, Berkshire Hathaway has been accumulating cash. Many people thought it was the harbinger of the crisis, as Buffett stopped buying. But the legendary investor explained that he just didn't see what he could buy. And if you remember the investment principles which Buffett took from his teacher, Benjamin Graham, then he prefers to buy companies for a reasonable price, reflecting their real value and with excellent prospects for business development for the next 10 years or so. Besides, Buffett buys the business he understands, and with his partner Charlie Munger, who is 96 years old by the way, they try to avoid losses rather than chase profits. I mean, Buffett isn't gonna buy a company that has to make a huge profit if he doesn't understand its business model. Instead, he's gonna choose the one that gives regular income and you can plan for 10 years or more. He's often criticized for his prudence, like for not buying Apple or Amazon or something, but the same critics cannot boast the same fortune as Buffett has. And now onto Buffett's deals of this year. And if you want to help me or thank me for all the work I'm doing, just give me a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. Let's look at Buffett's deals in 2020. He's been selling more than buying. To begin with, it was an energy company from the United States, Dominion Energy, and a Canadian gold mining firm, Barrick Gold. Buffett fully understands and sees both businesses in perspective because humanity won't give up natural gas for a long time and will also continue to use gold. Then there were the sales, which began with all the airlines that had previously been in his portfolio. Some significant positions in the US banking sector were also played out, like JP Morgan, Chase, Wells Fargo, and PNC. What lessons can we learn from these deals? Don't think that the crisis and the fall will be tomorrow. No. Even Buffett teaches that it's impossible to make market predictions for tomorrow, and all you can do is make business according to the current situation. But the actions of a legendary investor vividly demonstrate that the pandemic's main impact, to his understanding, is in the field of air travel, and numerous studies indicate that passenger traffic will take several years to recover. There are also more problems with people and businesses, which will soon turn into a banking crisis because of unpaid loans. So he decided to exit those banks whose business model seemed too risky for him, like JP Morgan, which now bets on the stock market. However, he keeps holding shares of the Bank of America. Apparently, Buffett has no claims on it. Concerning Japanese agreements, the main conclusion is that the US market prices are too jacked up in Warren's view, and before buying anything else, he will wait for a better time. So let's leave old Buffett alone for today and move on to the Fed head Jerome Powell. What is it that he has done to scare everyone? And if you want to always be in touch and be the first to know all the important things, just subscribe to the channel, please, and turn on the notifications. Let us refresh our memory concerning what the head of the Fed told us. Firstly, they are incredibly concerned about the unemployment rate and will try to do everything in their power to bring it back to pre-crisis level, that is, pre-war levels. Secondly, the Fed is willing to move to an average inflation rate of 2%, which could be higher in some periods. And thirdly, the Fed is prepared to reconsider its attitude towards the lower limit of the interest rate to make current monetary policy more effective. The first message that markets drew from his statement is that the Fed will continue its indefinite credit easing policy. And by the way, rumor has it that the Fed is still buying stocks, not directly of course, but through other companies, thereby supporting the stock market. As a result, we can see a new S&P 500 high of 3,500 points. Provided that the Fed continues its current policy and we don't get another black swan like coronavirus, the market has every chance of growing. What kind of the swan it could be, Buffett shared in a recent video. You can find the link in the description box. Now, the main issue is the average inflation rate of 2%. Previously, the Fed used the interest rate to regularly adjust inflation to no more than 2% per month. But because they are now struggling with falling prices and the actual deflation, they will have to print even more money. Interestingly enough, they've already put tons of dollars on the market, but never got the desirable inflation target. Because those who don't have money prefer to save, and those who do immediately invest it in the stock market. As a result, prices keep dropping. Therefore, you shouldn't worry that the Fed changed its approach to inflation. All it's done is allowed to grow it in some months, for example, to 4 or 5%, so that at the end of the year the average is 2%. As soon as it's implemented, they will immediately push the brakes, raising the interest rate. In my view, the bigger problem is that all their previous efforts failed. The rate is already zero. They handed out tons of money and still couldn't achieve the desirable effect. And in fact, the stock market continues to grow, while the economy continues to slide into recession. Share in the comments your prediction of whether the Fed can do a miracle and pull the economy back from the abyss without a wave of bankruptcies and mass layoffs. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching. It's the Coin Post channel. Subscribe and get enlightened.